Hey everybody, it's Brandon, and I am taking a look at the Cairn Complete Second Edition box set. This was a Kickstarter. I'm not sure if it's going to be available at retail or when that might be. If it is, in fact, going to be available in retail, I would think it would be. It's being delivered to Kickstarter backers. I did not back this. A good buddy of mine, who you probably all know, let me borrow this to do this video, and I was like, yeah, let's take a look at it and see. And as I delved into it more and more, I was more impressed. So it's a very nice box set, and it uses the Into the Odd system. And one thing you're going to find is that, and I'm not really going to go over the box set as much as the contents of it, because like I said, I'm not sure about the future of this box set. So you've got the Player's Guide, second edition Player's Guide right there, and you got this little pull thing here to pull stuff out. It's a little bit difficult to get stuff out, but it still works good. This is the Wardens Guide. And then you've got some adventures that came with the Kickstarter, which is cool. And so we've got this Trouble in Twin Lakes and this adventure anthology. Now, I did not find this one on ttrpg, so this may not be available on that site. And then when I'm looking through it, I was like, whoa, there's more player's guides, because I didn't look at this Kickstarter when it was launched. And I was like, well, there's another player's guide. So it comes with 3 player's guides, which is very cool. And it comes with some character sheets, which look very good. I really like that look of them. And then it's got a screen, which is also very nice. It's got some good art, and it's got a lot of great tables that you're going to need to run the game. So let's put that all back. There we go. And we're going to be mainly focusing on the 2 main books of the game. And that's going to be this player's guide and the Warden's Guide. So we'll put those all back there, and let's go ahead and just put this aside right now, because let's focus on these main books. Now, the thing that is really impressive that I did not really know that was going on is that the PDFs of these 2 books are completely free, and the not the anthology adventure, but the other adventure is free on ttrpg as well. So if you want the PDFs of these, you like what you see, you can go get them. So I'll have links down in the description if you want to get them. This is actually in POD as well. It's very cheap. This, as of this video right now, has not been made available in POD, but I believe it's coming at some point. So check back with that. And this is a very interesting book, much different than I thought it was going to be. So let's go ahead and just put that aside. Let's take a look at the Player's Guide. And you can see the art here. And it's got a lot of neat stuff going for it. Well, for starters, it's got this overview. It's got design philosophies, neutrality, classless, death, fiction first, growth, player choice, principles, shared objectives. I really like this, telling people kind of how the focus of the game is. Principles for players, agency, teamwork, exploration, talking, caution, planning, ambition. Very nice. And throughout it, it's got some very cool artwork. It's very easy to make a character here. First, you're going to roll or choose from the background table right here. There's a bunch of backgrounds. There's 20 of them. And then you're going to choose your name from the list. You're going to have a certain amount of inventory slots. You'll roll on each of the included tables in the background. Record your character's items, skills, or abilities from each result. And then you've got attributes, hit protection, and traits. So you're going to roll for your attributes and hit protection. Roll for the rest of your character's traits, and then on the bonds table, those are very interesting. Finally, you're going to roll in the character's age. If you're the youngest character, which I like that, roll in the omens table. The results should be read aloud to the other players. The warden should incorporate omens into the setting as they see fit. So we've got a bunch of different backgrounds. Our attributes are going to be 3 attributes: strength, dexterity, and willpower. You're going to roll 3d6 for each of your character's attributes in order, and then you may swap any of those 2 results. And what this game is going to be is a roll low system. Roll under your attribute. So that's interesting, of course, and kind of a throwback, obviously, to the old days. Roll 1d6 to determine your PC starting hit protection, the HP, which reflects the ability to avoid damage in combat. It does not indicate a character's health or fortitude. It says, I like that, nor do they lose it or for very long, as they heal up very quickly. Then you're going to have inventory, and inventory is very important in this game. You could actually get your inventory full of fatigue, which is going to then, of course, be detrimental to you. So it's interesting. It's an interesting mechanic that I like. Then you got inventory slots there. It's going to tell you that about what takes up what. And then you've got these character traits. So these are things they want you to roll on, the different tables: physique and skin, the hair, face, speech, clothing, virtue, and vice. And you can have some very interesting stuff, like in your clothing, it could be frumpy, or it could be rancid, it could be soiled or frayed. So you're kind of making your character as you go. And then here's these bonds. And it's pretty much like a thing you kind of can start off with. It could be something that's innately with you. It could be an item. One of the things that's about it is that this is not balanced at all. There's some very kind of dark things in it that can kind of take your character on a different path, really a narrative path, or it can be just straight up something that's worth money. Now, it may be attached to maybe something from a long dead relative or something, an inheritance or something of that sort. But they're all very well done and unique, with, again, some of them being quite narratively strong, where you have to go do something. Like one of your ancestors wronged a moss witch who cursed their bloodline. Your visage causes mirrors to shatter. You've noticed that the shards can sometimes reveal illusions, so they can add on to the story, add on to the adventure, and kind of make you go down a path, maybe of finding out what it's all about. And then the omens are like big, sweeping kind of things that's happening to the world. Such as right here, swarms of insects are fleeing from the woods in droves, destroying any wooden structures they come across. The sound of their wings hum a familiar tune as they pass overhead, like a forgotten nursery rhyme. So it's things that are obviously strong in the world, and they're interesting. And you can actually maybe roll up more than one based off your background. Then you've got your marketplace here. You've got gold pieces. Armor is going to have a certain amount of pieces, like a certain amount of points, such as chainmail is going to be 2, but it's going to be bulky. A helmet can add a +1 to your armor. Weapons are going to be kind of in categories here, where stuff does D6 or D8, D10, and then some ranged weapons here. Rules, a little bit of stuff here for hirelings. There's more sections on that in the other book. And then you've got a lot of gear here that you can buy. It's going to definitely assume that you know what a lot of these items are. And they're going to get right into the backgrounds. And most of this book is going to be the backgrounds. So the aura effects. You're an artisan of the arcane, a smith of subtle forces. In the crucible of your workshop, the laws that govern this world are warped to suit your needs. It's going to have some starting gear. Some of this can actually be very important and kind of change up your character pretty good. And then you're going to have kind of 2 questions. Like this one is, what experiment went horribly wrong? You can roll it up. And it says, like, you were adept at creating fake gold, which is almost as good. Eventually, your ruse was discovered, and you had to make a hasty retreat. Take a heavy metal ingot and gold powder. You get 3 uses of it. And then this one, what alchemical marvel is the product of your latest ingenuity? Maybe it's this blast sphere, a head-sized iron ball filled with explosive powder that explodes on impact. It does D12, blast, bulky, 1 use. So it kind of gives you an item. It gives you this, but it's not super ability heavy, where it's going to give you all these things that you can do. It's not really like that. Here's Barber Surgeon. And like I said, there's a lot, as you can see. Beast Handler, I really like that one a lot. Bone Keeper, they've got some very neat names for these backgrounds. And it is classless, but this is kind of what you came from and what you kind of grabbed from it, what you learned from it maybe. Fetchwind, Foundly, those Foundlings are pretty neat. Could actually even give you some like small minor magical items. I like the Fungal Forager with the candle helmet that gives you some dim light. The Green Wise, the Half Witch, like I said, there's 20 of them. The Hexen Bane, the Jongler, Kittlewright, Marchguard, Montebank, Outrider, Prowler, I like that name, Real Runner, Scrivener, and then here's the rules. And again, this is the Into the Odds system. And I've talked about this with some other games as well. One of those being Teenage Odyssey. Kind of comes from that. And again, this is a thing where you've got 3 stats. You're going to roll. Your save is going to be something that's going to happen to you. You need to roll your attribute or lower. Whenever you heal, and once you sleep, you're immediately going to, actually, resting for a few moments and having a drink of water restores lost HP, but may leave the party exposed. So you will recover your hit points hit protection very quickly in the game. You can also suffer from attribute loss. Armor is going to subtract from damage, of course. And you've got some rules here for hirelings. And you've got a couple things here that's interesting when it comes to deprivation and fatigue. Again, fatigue is something that's going to take up your inventory slots. You'll add a fatigue to their inventory. And And so like here, if you do that, if you become like you're deprived of food or rest, a deprived PC cannot recover hit points. I'm going to say hit points even though it says hit protection. Attributes or item slots from fatigue. If a character is forced to add fatigue to their inventory but they have no free slots, they must drop an item from their inventory. So it's a thing to really weigh you down. It almost kind of reminds me of deck builder card games where you get kind of like those crap cards that kind of muck up your hand. It's kind of like that. And then attacking and damage, and this is where it is again. It's you just roll weapon dice, and you have the weapon die, and you subtract the target's armor. There is no rolling to hit. And again, for me, that's a thing. It's a bit of a hurdle, but I would definitely give this a shot to see how it goes so easily. It may not work for every group, but I'm going to tell you there's a lot more going for this game. Even if you don't use the exact rules here for it, between the backgrounds here and this easy-to-use rule set, which again, it's very small. You can be impaired or you can be enhanced. So just show you how easy it is. If you're impaired, you're going to roll a 1d4 damage regardless of the attack's damage die. And if you were enhanced, you're going to roll a d12 instead of whatever the damage die is. And that's how it kind of fluctuates. It's almost like an advantage and disadvantage system with the damage that it does. So that's cool. And then once you take damage that goes below your hit points, it's going to be subtracted from your strength. And you have to make a strength save in order to avoid taking critical damage using their new strength score. On a success, the target is still in the fight and must continue to make critical damage saves when incurring damage. And it's going to tell you here what happens to happen to you. Stabilize them and bandages and stuff like that. Attribute loss. If a PC's strength is reduced to 0, they die. If their dex is reduced to 0, they are paralyzed. If their will is reduced to 0, they are delirious. And it says complete dex and will loss renders the character unable to act until they are restored through extended rest or extraordinary means. And if you take damage outside of combat, it's going to be directly to your strength. Very interesting. So it also has a thing here about detachments. Large group of similar combatants fighting together are treated as a single detachment. When a detachment takes critical damage, it is routed or significantly weakened. When it reaches 0 strength, it is destroyed. So very neat. We've got rules here for ranged attacks. And then scars. If your HP is reduced exactly to 0, you're going to look up the result on the table below based on the amount of HP lost in the attack. So if you lost 4 hit points, you got a broken limb. You under 5, you diseased, hamstrung, and some of these, of course, will kill you straight out or give you like a mortal wound that you will die in time from. And then spellbooks. Spellbooks contain a single spell and take up 1 slot. They cannot be easily transcribed or created. Instead, they are recovered from places like tombs, dungeons, and manors. So it keeps it very simple in that situation right there. Anyone that can cast a spell by holding a spellbook in both hands and reading its contents aloud, they must then add a fatigue to their inventory. So it's going to build up fatigue as you continue to cast spells. And I dig that, except scrolls are better. They're petty in power, but they do not cause fatigue, and they disappear after 1 use. So, of course, I'm a big fan of scrolls. Then you've got relics, which are pretty much like special magical items. And it's got a lot of these really neat rules here for dungeon exploration, making stuff easy, dungeon events, some roll up some stuff that you're going to roll on the table. Maybe it's an encounter, maybe it's a sign, maybe a clue or track. The environment, maybe surrounding shift or escalate. There's loss, torches are blown out. Exhaustion. The party must take a brief rest, add a fatigue, or consume a ration. And then quiet, the party is left alone and safe for the time being. So a lot of this is very interesting stuff. I really dig it. The only thing, again, with me is just, whether or not I'm cool with not making an attack roll. But I think you could really work with that if it's something that everybody's cool with giving it a shot and understanding how the game works. So we've got wilderness exploration here, and a lot of it has to do with watches. Whenever you're going in further distances, it's going to be how many watches you're going to take. And there's 3 watches during the day, morning, afternoon, night. So to get from here to here is going to be 3 watches. So maybe you can get it all done in 1 day, morning, afternoon, and night. And so you're going to have to kind of break that up. If a character can choose, they can only choose 1 wilderness action. There are some wilderness actions you can take. This kind of reminds me of Forbidden Lands a little bit. There's some neat stuff that you can roll up kind of randomly right here. So wilderness actions are going to be travel, explore, supply, and make camp. So you can do one of those. It'll have kind of the easy to follow rules for how this works. Supply, you're trying to get maybe some food, fishing or hunting. Making camp is, of course, obviously making your camp. A lookout rotation is probably needed. And then traveling, obvious locations, features, and terrain of nearby areas are revealed according to their distance. It's going to have to, it's obviously you need to make sure you're getting to where you need to go. There's a couple of little events right here. And this, like I said, this is the player's book here. It's going to tell you about downtown, milestones for your character, milestones when it comes to the downtown, like how much, it's going to cost you, maybe in gold, resources, reputation, or loss. And you can do some stuff during your downtime. Research. You can research, different things about maybe what's going on in this area. Right, give you some examples of where can I find the cure to curly sickness. So some neat stuff there in between, games. Going to tell you a little bit about training. It's not exactly the way you see it in other games. You're going to kind of work with your game master to come up with how you get better. Here they show you some examples of like two-handed parry or herbology or a trout master. Very cool stuff right there. Strengthening ties with the other players. I like that a lot as well. And then the setting of, and I'm going to say it's Vald. Very small for what the players to know. There's a lot of wood. There is a wood that surrounds and divides the realm. It's very large. The roots are kind of underneath. It is an underground horror. Vast caves loom as large as an emptied ocean without even a hint of sunlight. So really that's it for the player to know right there. And so when I moved over to the Warden's Guide, I was expecting this to be a big, here is the setting that has been created. And I didn't find that. And I found something actually much, much, much better. It says the Warden's Guide includes tools, tables, and advice for running Cairn, with procedures to generate content that fits into the Vald setting or any fantasy world of your imagining. It's extremely useful. I was really surprised by this. If this rule set, this kind of easy to play game is not your cup of tea, go get at least this PDF. This thing is fantastic because it really didn't do that whole settings bloat thing, which I enjoy. Don't get me wrong, to read about somebody's setting, but this was so many great tools that you can use. It's going to tell you a lot of the different materials you're going to need. So setting seeds help to create the seed of an adventure. You're going to roll a bunch of stuff here. Maybe the region theme, the people, the culture, the resources. And so maybe they're curious. Their ambition is independence, resources. Maybe it's horses, and the scarcity is maybe medicine. And it's just page and page of this really neat stuff here. Factions, agents, advantages, agendas. And you're going to roll this stuff up. Maybe they are exiles. The agent is a healer. Maybe one of the traits is that they're fierce, or another trait is that they are deceptive. So fantastic tools for any role-playing game, obviously of a fantasy nature, but you could probably use this with a whole bunch of other games too. Maybe they've got certain advantages or agendas. Maybe they collect artifacts or dominate others, establish a colony. What's an obstacle? Well, a well-known prophecy predicts imminent failure, or considerable capital is required for them to do their agenda. And then I like the fact that they give you examples of all these things to show you how it works. It's just really, really smart stuff here. And then here we've got some really neat creation stuff here, topography, with landmarks. And again, I use this type of stuff in Pocket Space RPG, where you roll down dice and the numbers and their location start to help you create something. In Pocket Space, you're creating a galaxy. And here you're starting to do like the terrain type. So you're going to roll it up, and it's going to say, so like number one is an easy, this is a perilous area, this is an easy area, and this is a tough area here. And you're going to kind of mark it up. It's going to show you how you can create these things. This is mountains, this is plains, marshland, or grassland. And you're going to be able to roll that stuff up. See, here's easy, so maybe you roll up that it's farmland. Or tough, maybe it's dunes or forests. And perilous, maybe it's geysers or hollows, jungles, or mountains. There's a landmark. Maybe there's something that you can say, hey, that farm, it's also got a lot of like maybe a golden bridge or a heart tree, a silver face, or a sinkhole. So it's neat to put those landmarks with those different type of terrain. And you're going to do a lot of that stuff, even here with weather, unusual weather that might be in that location. You're going to see it's going to show you as it keeps going on, maybe with a water feature here, and how you're going to illustrate that terrain and landmarks, points of interest, how to draw points of interest. Again, the POI die drop table, how to use that, as you can see, until we get to this final thing here, where you're going to have everything: a crumbling fort, a hamlet, it's a center of learning, a tower. This frozen graveyard, it's got perpetual mist, and how it's all broken down. Very, very handy stuff. Waypoints, layers, dungeons. And at first I just thought it was a bunch of random tables, and then all of a sudden I start seeing how this is helping you create these things. I don't see this too often with products at all. Putting it all together, ask yourself the following questions. It is very user-friendly. That's probably one of the best things about this book right here. Extremely user-friendly. Especially if you have difficulty or you just need help or a tool to help you create these things. Here's dungeon seeds here, creating a dungeon. It tells you, like, what was the dungeon originally used for? Maybe it was an arcane library or a burial site, a hideout, or a military outpost. And who built it? Maybe it was heretical alchemists or mob families. You know, what is its construction? It's a cave, it's a cliff door. It's made out of glass or ice or metal. How is its ruination? Is it desecrated, infested, or overgrown? What caused it? So you get all these different things that lead you onto the path to create this stuff. Dungeon factions, how to build a dungeon, again, using the die drop table here. So special monster, special trap, lore, and then you're gonna start working on it like this. It's gonna show you everything you need, drawing the paths to each of them. Extremely well done. And it was something I was not expecting. I love all these questions and examples. Really does a good job at leading you through this. But I was not expecting something that was so robust at this. And then to know that these PDFs for these two books are free is fantastic. Forest Seeds, Spirit of the Forest. The forest plays a big part in the woods in Cairn. Creating points of interest, so you can see it. It just gives you everything you need here. Monsters, ruins, hazards, and shelters. An example of a forest which you can then use. It's going to have it fully figured out here, so you can use this in your campaign, your adventure, whatever the case may be. They show you how they used these tools to create these things. Fantastic. Let's continue on. We've got Warden tools here, a bunch of monsters with some neat art in it. And I was like, that's great. Okay, you've got your monsters. Fantastic. And then what does it do? Right here at the end, it says, well, how would you like to create your own monsters? So here's that section. Principles and how to do it, rolling up the appearance and making unique monsters, how the stat block is. And then they go, hey, here's all these tables to do it. And then here's the monster we made with these tools. Fantastic. Well, what if you've got a monster for another game? Maybe it's a BX style game. Well, it leads you on the way here to try to make your own games to convert those monsters to this system. So that's very helpful. Again, another great tool. Saving throws and combat abilities. Really, really good stuff right there. And then we've got a lot of cool tables here. Naming procedures, terrain, adjectives and nouns, faction names, forest names. And then growth of your character. Growth is interesting because it's not so much tied to, like it says, just straight numbers and stuff like that. It's more to your character and building your character. Maybe there's something that hampers the character with their growth. So it gives you some examples, and it wants you to think outside the box when it comes to becoming a better, I guess you could say, better character, or just a more seasoned character in some way, tied through the story. And I think this is really neat, really smart, something I'm not really seeing. We're so used to just getting pluses and stuff like that. Faction advancement, resolution of a bond or omen. Spell books, there's a whole bunch of different spells here with different appearances and personalities in these books. They're in italics right here, so like drips letters, staining whatever it touches. Highly resistant to fire and water damage. So some unique spell books. We've got a D100 table there. Then here's a whole bunch of magical items. Very easily done here. Advice and examples. This is great. Creating your own backgrounds, the anatomy of a background, the theme, the starting gear. And then it just keeps going. And this is an incredible section. Point crawls, converting a map. And then it explains it all, how it works, the different watches, which I like that. I like the watches for movement. Frequently asked questions. And this I thought was just going to be a thing where it was like, well, we're not clever with the rules. And so we didn't write it very well. So here's more thorough, like reading. And it's not. It's more of kind of like the principles of these things, of these, these different questions you may have. And then it has players kind of talking back and forth. I always like examples like that. Very helpful. Talking about detachments as well, wilderness, exploration, and giving you more examples of that. Day watch, day one and watch one. How the event table. So it leads you through what it's giving you in the tool situation. And that's just neat. Knowledge and perception, saves, when to save, the principles of those. Again, giving you examples with actual characters. Changing the difficulty up of the game, character history and teamwork, a greater risk for greater reward, combat is war. It's just a really interesting section here. I think everybody should probably read. And then here's that setting section. And it's not, I like the principles. Keep it small, keep it local. Most people are human. Distance matters. Language matters. Interesting. Very good stuff. It keeps it obviously very kind of small, like it said. It's not a huge section here to really bog you down. That's not really the goal of this game is to give you some big, thick setting that you need to figure out. Here's some names that go with it. Here's a bit of the calendar here. Holidays, festivals, and events. And then a lot of stuff that are, games and supplements, blogs, adventuring, writing, mechanics, a lot of stuff here to help you if you want to do other games that maybe inspired this or can inspire you, these different books. And it is a very good book. This thing here, I think most people need to have this. Just as a tool that you're going to have that you can use to help you create a lot of different stuff. And it's neat that the box set, like I said, I hope it becomes available to purchase. There's 3 of these in that box set. That was really neat for the Kickstarter. I'm not going to show the adventures because I just want to really spotlight these 2 fantastic books. And the links that you can go pick them up will be down below. Again, in PDF, this one, print on demand. Hopefully this will be out sometime soon in print on demand. And the price was very low. But if this is not exactly your bag when it comes to the easy, lightweight system, not rolling for attacks, it's still got a lot of interesting stuff in there that you can use. But boy, is this thing here just an absolute dynamite book to help you create a lot of different things in your games. So there's Cairn. I was kind of about it when I first started taking a look at it. But when I started to really go through this, I was like, wow, this is a fantastic tool. So there it is, Cairn, the complete 2nd edition box set, a really cool product. Hopefully that box set will become available at some point to pick up at retail for people who missed out on the Kickstarter. But and it's really cool that all this stuff is available for free. The 1st edition was available for free. This one's available for free, which I was surprised. Honestly, with a product like this, of this quality, I did not expect for these 2 things in PDF to be free, but they are. And they're really cool. So there it is, Cairn. So thanks.